Welcome to Manufacturing Mavericks, a podcast where we showcase and celebrate exceptional people from across precision manufacturing who are boldly embracing new ways to improve their processes, grow their bottom lines, and ensure American manufacturing will thrive for generations to come. Welcome to this episode of Manufacturing Mavericks. I'm your host, Greg McHale, and I am joined today by a very special guest, someone who I have bumped into in the past at various NTMA events, and someone that I know is very focused on modernization, investments in culture, and investments in technology, and that is Daniel Engelmeyer from Hibshman Screw Machine Products. How are you doing today, Daniel?
I'm doing pretty good. Nice day out.
That's good. That's great to hear. We're overdue for nice days this time of year, so we'll take them when we can get them, that's for sure. So Daniel, I know that you've been very involved in various events with the NTMA. I think we've bumped into each other at Emerging Leaders, Engage, some of the other field events. I know Hibshman always has a very strong presence at the NTMA, so definitely love to see that. I think NTMA is a fantastic organization that does very well by its members and for its members and for manufacturers overall. So, Daniel, would love to hear the origin story for you. How'd you get into manufacturing in the first place? And then we can weave that journey up to how things are going currently at Hibshman.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Let's go with what was it that caused you to first want to get into manufacturing? How did the spark fire for you?
I was working at a farm. I've done that all my life. And my dad was a farmer, but my grandfather was a manufacturer. He worked with Acme Gridleys since '62. His father-in-law got him into manufacturing and machining. And then my uncle's in there too, so I'm pretty sure I'm a fourth generation machinist for Acme Gridleys. That's my bread and butter. I can tear them down, put them back together, but it all comes from farming. You got to be able to fix your tractors and stuff like that, so having that aptitude to fix things is real important. I got in school, I did a little bit of high school, I did a little manufacturing and stuff, did a little college credits and stuff here and there for it. Had a real knack for math. And reading, micrometers and calipers and stuff, all my buddies would copy off my work. So I'm happy I got them through.
Hopefully you got rewarded for that somehow.
I got a buddy that fixes boats and stuff. He sucked at math, but man, he can fix anything. So like when my boat breaks down, he's there for me. So I get friendships, everything. So
do you help him do the math on the bill? Do you get to turn the numbers down or what?
If I have to, I will. It's just funny how some people, they just can't, they can't put the decimal on the right side. It's always fun. But after high school, I went back to farming, and I was preparing to go to the Marines. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go in the military. I was big in the MMA, cage fighting and stuff like that. And I thought, the Marines is where I could pursue that a little bit more so I can get into cage fighting a little bit more. Because before I was an amateur, and then I was doing my testing and stuff, and my grandpa, he was working down at Jetson Manufacturing in Elkhart, Indiana at the time, and he was like, hey, come down here and fill out an application. We'll see if you like it. At that time, I was like, well, okay, and he's like, well, you're going to get paid $10 an hour, but that's for the first 60 days, and your pay will go up. It was a union shop, but he's like, it's only a part-time gig for an hour on second shift, so I was like, okay. So I was farming and working at this machine shop. So I'd go in the farming at 7 in the morning. I was in a pig barn. So I was helping give birth to baby pigs. So I like to think I saved lives, or bacon, either way.
Bacon's good.
Yeah, bacon's always good. But I started working both jobs, and then they said, here's a full-time gig. So I got out of the farming and went straight into manufacturing, and I started as a chip spinner. I'd go in there and spin chips all day. That was my job, and tumble parts. And then I worked in the steel room for a little while, putting away stock and just making sure everything's flowing really good. Down there at Jesson's, they had a real good process about how they did things. Real good teaching skills and classes and stuff. You had all these old guys that, are far retired now. But it was fun learning from them all. And then at Union Shop, they put up a bid for Acme Gridleys, and that's where I signed the piece of paper. And they're like, here you go, you're getting stuck with your grandpa. So I got to work with him for about a year, learning how to operate and run an Acme Gridley. And then I did that for a year. He's the hardest critic that I'll ever know. Working with him and my uncle, I've gotten so much from him. I learned so much. My he's one of them old timers that's always hard. He is not like new technology, does not like new technology, don't like computers. He just retired. He's retired 5 times now, but he came and worked with me last summer and he was 81 years old. He's the youngest 81-year-old you'll ever see in your life. Guarantee it. So I'm like, thank God for those genes, because I'm a pretty healthy 36-year-old. So I like to think I got that from him. But I worked there for 4.5 years, and it was great. Get involved with the wrong girl, and then that started went south a little bit with the whole job thing. Young and dumb, early 20s. And I ended up losing that job because, I just couldn't show up to work. But I'm one of those people that, I show up, I'm going to do my 10 hours of work in 5 hours. I'm there to get the job done. But in a union, you point out and, you're doing dumb things. So I ended up losing that job, and it was funny because I went right back to farming. I did that for another 2 years, and then I met my wife within those 2 years, and she has been the driving point for me for continuous improvement, CI management. My whole shop is probably built around my wife, I would say, because all of her ideas have drove me to the point where I'm at now with my 6S and what's bigger and better out there and what technologies can help my operators. It's all about the people you work with and your teamwork. So that's what I'm trying to improve every day, is just the teamwork. It ain't even about improving the machines or anything. It's about improving my culture. I want people to go out and say, I love my job. I love going to work every day. You should try to get work here, is what I want to hear. When I got into Hibshman's, the plant manager wasn't the greatest. My wife drove me into filling out that application because we didn't make any money. No money. She ended up going and working with my mom in assembly work, and we're driving one vehicle. So a lot of times I'd ride my bike to the farm when I worked there. But when I got into Hibshman's, my whole life changed. I was a supervisor in a year there because when I got in there, it was just it was ran like it was in the 80s, where people just run parts. Quality wasn't on the mind. It was just run parts. We need as many parts out as we can. Chad him taking over about the time I started. It was a complete shift when I started. So we've seen a lot of change in a short amount of time. In about 2016, Chad took over, I think, in 2014. We got a new sales guy in 2015, and then I got hired, and I took over the maintenance of the Acme Gridleys and everything, and helped over in the Brown and Sharps where I could and stuff. I have a real knack for tearing stuff apart and putting it back together right, I guess. I'm lucky, I guess. I'm not a programmer. I'm learning. I go in, I understand Swiss machines, or at least I understand how they work. I can go in and be like, okay, it's doing this. We should be able to do this. So Matt there, we've gotten a lot closer now than when we first started, because he started in 2022, I want to say. So at first, we butted heads a little bit, but he's a programmer. He's a CNC guy. He ain't in old school working on these machines like I was brought up. So it's a different shift in that. But Chad's really been mainly Chad. It was me and Chad for a long time. And the sales guy, I guess you could say, he was involved. He ain't there no more, so things have changed. But in 2019, I went back to Jessens for 3 months. I call it my vacation time, my learning time. But, just working with Chad I'm grateful for him. I'm blessed. I grew up in a poor family. My dad was in and out of jail for, drugs and stuff like that. So, I grew up around a lot of that stuff. That drove me to not want to be like that, because I see a lot of it. I understand a lot of street things that go on around drugs and stuff, but I'm a hillbilly. So I'm in the country, I am the biggest redneck. I hunt, I fish. That's what I live for. And if my job provides me the chance to be able to do that, that's what I want to do. And being with Chad, he really lets me do my thing. And he doesn't, he'll question it, but it's always good questions. It's the way a company should be ran, like we should be about the people that work there, not so much the parts that are ran there. If you have good people, you get good parts, you get good results.
So much to unpack so far. I mean, I don't know if I start at hog farming, cage fighting, grandpa, or your wife and the impact there. I think I'm going to jump in all of it. The most curious point first. Talk to me about the cage fighting. How did you get into cage fighting?
Well, I was always into it since I was about 14, so I always did some backyard brawling. I never did wrestling, but I should have. I was good at jiu-jitsu, so choking somebody, putting somebody in an arm bar. My fight name was Daniel Engelmeyer. Any angle I was in, I was getting you in an arm bar, and you watch some of my fights on YouTubes and stuff. You see them all, and I'm always tapping somebody out.
I got to make sure I'm really on your good side. Wow.
I am not an aggressive person at all. I'm the most chill, fun. I love life. I just want to laugh and have a good time. I'm just there to live it because you only live once. Well, you live every day, but I guess you only die once.
It's true, especially if you're on the other side of a chokehold for too long.
But that's where, when I got hired in where my grandpa worked, I had to train the next chip spinner guy. And the next chip spinner guy was somebody that did a little MMA, a little cage fighting. I was about 23 when I took my first fight. It was right after my son was born. I got a 12-year-old son. He's about 13. The kid's almost taller than me. I can't believe it. I was like half his size at his age. But he was born, and my buddy was like, hey, these cage fights are down here in this hotel. You want to come and do it? And I was like, yeah, why wouldn't I want to do it? My brother is going to do it too, because my twin brother, we just beat the hell out of each other every day because that's what we do. What's my best block? My face. But he was like, come in and try these cage fights. And, ever since then, it was a little tiny cage in this little conference room. You could reach up and touch the ceiling. And so, because it was off the floor a little bit, and went in there and I grappled with a guy for 3 rounds. I ended up losing, but I stuck with it. I ended up becoming 12-6 as an amateur. And then I went pro. I should have trained harder. I should have trained more. I had some good connections. Probably could have been in the UFC at one point. I wasn't fighting enough. I would take a fight like once a year. So when I went pro, it was like once a year I'd take a fight. So I ended up taking 3 fights, went 2-1 as a pro. I'd say my last fight was a controversy because I busted that dude up so good. It was a great time. It was awesome, but that was my fighting career. I met a lot of great people in that. What's big with me is coaching. I coached boxing. I coached MMA. I've coached jiu-jitsu. Now I'm coaching manufacturers and culture for people, trying to build on that more because from the NTMA, Coach Emma Doyle, she is awesome, phenomenal. She was a tennis coach in Australia. And she's an awesome person to learn from. She brings excitement to manufacturing and to teaching people that is phenomenal. If you ain't taking emerging leaders with her, you probably should have been or should be. I've done Emerging Leaders 1 and Emerging Leaders 2. Emma Doyle is where it's at. She interacts with people. She makes you interact with people. It isn't they're teaching you, talking to you, explaining things to you all the time. She's making you do it. Like here, we're going to break you out in these rooms and stuff, talk to each other and stuff, learn from each other. And it really brings excitement to the game of manufacturing. It's turned my life around. Well, not around, but I did a 180 or something like that. And I was like, okay, I want to coach people. I want to be here to support people and help people through anything. I've lived a lot. I've learned a lot. I've done a lot of dumb things. I'm not the smartest person in the book, but I love life, and I think everybody should love their life. It's your choice to love it. So nobody else has that choice. Nobody's making you do anything. It's always your choice. My wife, she coaches me through every day. So that's what she's there for.
If you're still playing sneakernet with USB drives, or worse, resurrecting floppy disks like it's 1997, it's time to retire that digital dinosaur. Introducing G-Code Cloud plus DNC from Datanomix, the government cloud native, compliance ready, traceability maximizing superhero your shop never knew it needed. We're talking real-time program management, zero confusion, and full accountability with the CMM C2.0, AS9100, and all those acronym overlords that stand between you and the next DoD mega contract. Say goodbye to oops, wrong file, and hello to wow, we just won $1 million bid. You've already got the machines, now give them the brains to match. Check out G-Code Cloud plus DNC at Datanomix.io, and let's put your protocols on cruise control.
Daniel, I got to tell you, I mean, your candor, your honesty, your transparency is amazing. I mean, I can tell there is a lot of wisdom and experience and reflection in the different pieces of the story here as they're coming together. And the one that I really want to dig into, I mean, first of all, I don't know how many people come on the show and say, hey, I got with the wrong girl. I was missing work. I got fired. I was screwing up. I had to go back to farming. And then I met my wife and she straightened me out, and you were just connecting that with she's been coaching you. Take us down that path, Daniel. What exactly was it in meeting your wife and in that relationship and in that dynamic that kind of unlocked the Daniel that we're hearing today?
Well, my wife, she's wound a little tight. It gives me that stability that I need in life to know what my responsibilities are. She drives me to be better in life, in financial. I'm onto my second house because of Hipschman's and my wife. I've bought my second house. So bought one, sold one, bought a new one, and now I'm living over here in between a bunch of lakes, and it's a dream come true, really. It just keeps getting better just because I've come from the bottom, and now I rose up and I hit bottom again. Now I just a straight rise the whole time. She keeps learning. She wants to get her green belt in lean, which she should, because she's one of the smartest people I know.
So she's in manufacturing too?
Yeah, she works at Lippert. She's a cop. She was a cop in Topeka, Indiana for a little bit, coming from the outlaws that my family is, and then I'm with a cop. And it's always fun to bring that up. But she wants to follow the laws and stuff, and then she gets with me, and I'm like, well, let's go do this, and she's like, oh, that's against the law. Only if you get caught. But I've never really done anything that's super wrong, I guess. Depends who's looking in the window. But but watching her learn everything, I was never a person to read books. She started telling me about continuous improvement books, and here I am. I've read 10 times is better than 2 times. I've read the 7 Habits of Effectively People.
Highly effective people.
I love Dan Sullivan. That dude is a phenomenal person, book writer. We're getting ready to start the EOS life thing, so we, starting Datanomix and the EOS all at the same time. I want something new, fresh. That's where the EOS comes in. Every 90 days you should be doing something new. Something fresh, or striving to do better. I'm here to improve every day, Give me those ideas. I want to know how to improve. But when it comes down to it, you're the one that's got to improve. Nobody's gonna tell you how to improve unless you have the will to improve. So here I am, improving my life every day, improving the shop every day. I'm one of those managers that goes around. I'll paint lines, I'll work on machines, I'll put up lights. I like to be involved. I like to get people involved. I got one of my best friends working with me. He is one of the hardest working people I've ever met.
Was he a farmer too?
Well, no, actually, he's kind of just been all over the place, done all kinds of different things.
Somebody told me once, if you ever hire anyone that has experience on a farm, they'll be the hardest working person you've ever met. We actually have one of our customer success engineers grew up on a farm, and the dude's a hard worker, I'll tell you what.
98% of the time. There's a 2% there.
That's better than a lot of other populations.
But the good thing about somebody that come from a farm or something like that, I can tell them to do anything and they will do it. If there's hard work that needs to be done, they're going to do it. They ain't going to ask questions. How hard is it? Why do we got to do this? That ain't my job. They're like, let's do it. Let's get it done, and that's what I want to hear from young people. That's what I want to hear from anybody is, I don't want you to ask me how hard the job is. I don't know how hard the job is. I just want to get it done. I beat on a tapered pin the wrong way for 2 days and then drill it out and then find out that I was beating on it the wrong way the whole time. I've done dumb things like that and I've learned from it. I didn't hit the other 7 that way. I'm a learn on the job type of person. I'll do anything. You just let me do it and watch me go, because I'm gonna be all in on it. I'm gonna learn everything I can. I'm young. I'm eager to learn. The future for me, not the past, not the present. The present's now, but that's for people that wanna put out fires every day. I'm not somebody that wants to put out fires every day. I want to prevent the fire before it gets here. I want to prevent the problem before it gets here. Here's my wife talking again. Everything has a process. Everything has a place. If you're doing the process right, then your life is that much easier. We change our processes all the time because there's always a better way to do it. If you're listening to the people that's doing the job, then you're changing your process all the time, because it's easier for some people to do some things a certain way. And, you got to be open to that. I know I got my way of doing things, and it's probably the fastest way. But some people rather do it their way because they're comfortable with it. So you got to be open to that sometimes. So it's a lot of fun.
So Daniel, one of the things I've heard loud and clear in different parts of the story as well is you give a ton of credit to Hibshman and specifically to Chad, the president of Hibshman, for really giving you those opportunities to grow and advance, starting out in maintenance, and now you're manufacturing manager overseeing operations effectively. What are some of the things about Hibshman and the culture that have allowed you to go through that experience and as you said, rise from the bottom?
Now that I've gotten to the coaching aspect of things, that's helped a lot about like how I talk to people, or I'm all about, I'm trying to uplift people or get people involved in we have a meeting every Monday, and right now we're going over core values. So we got 10 core values. They're a little high, but hey, we're aiming high. But each week we have a different core value that we got to live so people can learn it. And it's real funny because like today, our quality lady was like, Kim helped me figure this thing out on this computer. So she had a lot of coachability. That's one of our core values. And I was like, once they say it 7 times, it's stuck. So like hearing them say it, that's right, there. See, it's working. This week we're on craftsmanship. So find that problem before it becomes a problem. I think it's exciting to watch them. You're watching this whole group grow. Everybody's getting a little more outspoken every week. I'm just waiting for the one person to say, I want to talk first. That'd be great. We ain't there yet, but yeah, give it a few weeks. We'll get there. Sooner or later, somebody will start speaking a little bit more, and that's what I look for in new leadership skills. Like I'm waiting for that next leader to step up and see them take charge. That's what excites me. As oh yes, I don't have to do one more thing. This person's gonna do it because they done spoke up and they're ready to go. That's what I look for in a leader, because I want somebody to take my job. I don't want to be doing my job my whole life. I want somebody to take that job. If you're going to do a great job at it, you can have it. That's awesome. I'll move somewhere else. Ain't no big deal to me. I'm real humble in change. I'll take responsibility for whatever I have to. When my team messes up, I messed up. There was somewhere in my process it broke down. The communication, maybe there was a better way to do it. But at the end of the day, we're a team, and if you're going to take the blunt of it, I'm taking the blunt of it. So I try to build that on people all the time, because, I'm not here to point fingers. I'm just here I want to get the job done. That's what Chad put me in place for, is because when it comes down to it, it's getting done one way or another. You might have to remind me a couple times, but I will do it. That's why I like Chad, because he's coaches me. He'd be phenomenal for one of these. Well, he does speak. He speaks at a lot of things. He'd be real good at coaching and life values.
We'll definitely have Chad on. That would be a fantastic episode.
Because it's great watching his kids and stuff grow and everything, because my kid's the same age. So, and I've watched him for I think I'm going 9 years at Hipschman's in April. So watching all of his kids grow up has been great.
The thing that I hear loud and clear, Daniel, is cultural investment is the number one priority. And that starts with Chad, works its way all the way through. Clearly something that you've embraced. I mean, EOS, weekly core values, emerging leaders. You've gone through multiple rounds. Just so much investment in people, and how do you get an ownership mentality? How do you get buy-in? How do you manufacture collaboration? And when you do all those things, the parts follow, right?
There's a point where I was like, this wasn't even that long ago. I was coming in late, leaving early. That's a good sign of being burnt out a little bit, but it took me realizing that, I am a manager. I got to be there for my team. They're watching me, so I need to do better. I live by example. I'd rather, somebody live the way I'm living, so I better live good and I better bring it, because if I don't, then I don't want to make people disappointed in me for failing them, which if I do fail them, I'll take the blame right now that I failed you, but I don't want to give a chance for that. There's no way I'm going to fail anyone, because I don't try, I do. That's a fun thing too, is trying to get people to say, not try, but getting people to say, yeah. I don't want them to say try. I hear them all the time. I'll try to do that. No, I don't want to hear you say that. I want to hear, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Like, I don't smoke cigarettes. Never have, never will. I have buddies that say, I'm going to try quitting smoking. Try saying I'm going to quit smoking, or I don't smoke. When somebody asks you for that cigarette, say I don't smoke. Don't say I'm trying not to, because that leads into people peer pressure and stuff like that. So
I mean, effort is fantastic. Results are even better, right? It takes effort to get results, but the effort's got to be directed. Otherwise, who knows what you're going to end up with. So in addition to, a tremendous amount of cultural investment, Daniel, what are some of the other investments that you guys have been making at Hibshman? ProShop,
ERP, one of the best investments we ever made. I couldn't even, where do I start with that? Like, I love it. Being able to just see, schedule, writing notes. You used to write a note on a piece of paper and leave it at a machine. And then you'd walk in and somebody else has already been there before you, and now they're complaining. I don't have to deal with that no more. When I wake up first thing in the morning, I look at the machines that we're running. I look at the notes people left. It keeps me from walking into a fire, and I already have a solution when I get there. There ain't no, this person did this person did that. It's a lot more accountability. Just being able to see the schedule. We went from a 76% on-time delivery to, we average around 93 to 95% now, and it's been 2 years since we signed up for ProShop, and it's been a game changer.
Did you have an ERP before ProShop?
No, we were all paper, old school.
So that was the first, yeah.
Yeah, we got our first CNC in 2019, and it was a CNC mill, and that was to help our secondary, in which we've cut secondary down so much with our CNCs and our Swiss machines now, just because we don't have to do that second operation anymore. So investing in the CNCs is cut down on that a ton. I wish we could invest in a few more just to keep up with the workload now, because now it's like, now we're jam-packing these machines with all this work that it gets stressful, but a lot of new jobs, when you're dealing with that type of growth and dealing with new jobs coming in all the time, you don't know how that job runs. So like, you got to try to plan for that, and it's rough when it's a new job.
The chemistry and the collaboration is so important. And like you say, that investment in the emerging leaders side of things, also hugely important to get everybody to broaden and open up a little bit more and start to figure out what really matters. You look up the organization, down the organization, across the organization, what's really going on in people's heads, and how do you create buy-in and have the right conversations, and sometimes the difficult conversations. So definitely, I mean, I've heard loud and clear through the episode that emerging leaders and that whole process has just left a serious impression on you and really uncorked perpetual cultural evolution and investment and desire to grow. And I think that's so incredible. And like I said earlier, I mean, your honesty, your transparency, your candor, it comes through so amazingly, Daniel, that this is what I love about being on this side of the microphone and getting to talk to so many manufacturing mavericks is the stories are all so unique and what drives somebody, to get into manufacturing. And there's no beating around the bush on the speed bumps, the U-turns, the circles and different things that you've gone through. So appreciative of your willingness to take us through that, share all those details. So great to hear the influence Chad has had on you, your wife has had on you, NTMA has had on you, your grandfather, right? All the generational contributions to your manufacturing DNA and the rough experiences that you've been through too. I mean, you shared a lot about who you are and where you come from, almost in a, if I can embrace the cage fighting in a no holds barred kind of way, right? You just, you laid it all out for us. And, not a lot of people would do that. And I think that's really a testament to exactly who you are and how you value learning who others are so that you can best understand how to help them grow, how to grow yourself, and how to lead. So I really, really appreciate everything that you laid out for us and taking us through that. And I have to ask, with that capstone and all of those things that we just wove together, if you went back in time and you talked to the hog farmer who was filling out his application for $10 an hour on second shift, and you were going to give him one piece of advice that would help the Daniel that exists today, what would you tell him?
I should have found my wife sooner.
That's a good one. We haven't had that one before.
She drives me to be better, like it's a teamwork thing. Somebody that's going to hold you responsible or accountable for your actions. And it's all about your actions. I'm always a happy person. It's just the way I am. I've seen a lot of heartache, but that'll never hold me down. I don't want to be left in the past. And that's why I've signed with Datanomix. It's a game changer. It's going to be neat to see where it is in 2 years. That's what I give everything. Like we seen what Pro Shop was in a year. Now we see where it's at in 2 years. And it's just so much easier to work with, just to see how things work. So I'm super excited to see where Datanomix goes. I just want things to be easier for everybody. So we can all, we all want to make money. We all want to live a great life. And the faster we get on track with everything and get some good coffee reports. I love those things. That's pretty neat how you guys did that. Seeing that probably is one of the things that sold me on Datanomix, is just seeing your guys' dashboards, and you got your espresso port and stuff like that. I was like, this is neat. Okay, I like this. And then once we hooked it up, it was like, okay, I see the big picture here. It's exciting. I'm excited.
Thrilled to hear that. And I know, man, where we'll be together 2 years from now will be a different planet for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And just seeing the evolution even weekly and monthly as the team gets more involved in reviewing the data, and you get involved in your Gemba walks and your job reviews. And it will be awesome to learn with you guys and your unique culture and how you approach things, and to grow with you and to continue to help you guys grow as Hibshman keeps going to the next level.
Those Gemba walks, we tried that in the past with our whiteboards and stuff like that. Even bought a whiteboard to walk around and stuff. My wife's real big on the Gemba walk and stuff. Like I said, I've learned so much from her. It's unreal. But I can't wait to do a Gemba walk with Datanomix and discuss it, which I don't know if we'll probably have a TV in each area, because I don't need to walk around with a TV, but
it'd be kind of one of those backpacks.
yeah. I love the tablets. I wish everybody in the shop had a tablet, because with everybody has a laptop. I never used it. But everybody's got a laptop, carrying that big old lunky thing around is a pain. But that tablet, that's a game changer.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. Anything you need to know, one press, there you go.
Yeah, it's great.
No, really appreciate all of that, Daniel. And again, your willingness to share, your openness. Fantastic to have you on the show. I know this is going to be a popular episode for sure, with all kinds of good twists and turns, and really proof of how manufacturing and the right woman can transform your life.
Right.
So that was so awesome to hear. So thank you so much, Daniel, for being on the show, and wish you continued success.
I appreciate it a ton. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed talking to you. It's another blessing in my life.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Daniel.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you for listening to Manufacturing Mavericks. If you'd like to learn more, listen to past episodes, or nominate a future Maverick to be on our show, visit mfgmavericks.com. And don't forget to subscribe to and rate this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or your favorite podcast app.
Let's be honest. How much are you blowing on scrap and tools that didn't make it to lunch? Yeah, more than you'd ever like to admit on a first date. That's why Datanomix teamed up with the legendary crew at Karen Engineering to bring you TMAC AI, the digital watchdog that sniffs out trouble while your part is still on the machine. It's like having X-ray vision for your toolpath. TMAC AI reads real-time cutting data like it's fluent in CNC Morse code. Flags bad parts before they reach the inspection table because nobody likes surprises. And gives your tools a life coach, telling them when to keep going or when to retire gracefully. Less scrap, smarter tool life, happier shop. Dive into TMAC AI at Datanomix.io and start turning oh no into heck yes.